Just what are your plans for the off season and possibly playing or just doing individual workouts?
Yeah, I mean, probably take a little bit of a break here, just for maybe a week. I don't really want to lose kind of the stuff I've worked on, and just trying to get my body back to full health. There's some USA basketball stuff I need to get ready for.
Imagine the world's top performer discreetly giving her own team an ultimatum a year into her deal. Although it sounds like something from a basketball fever dream, the WNBA is currently experiencing a shockwave of that kind. There is no denying the reports. Caitlin Clark has evolved beyond her role as the star guard. She is a complete threat who vowed to leave her own team in an unofficial manner if they didn't keep two certain players from becoming free. This goes beyond a celebrity's desire to reunite with her pals. This relates to a brutal power move that exposed the front office of the Indiana Fever and demonstrated the extent of Clark's actual control. However, her contract is not the focus of this whole story. It concerns Sophie Cunningham and Lexie Hull, two teammates who were on the verge of being fired, and the startling demand that was made in secret. Let's stand back and realize how unprecedented this time is before we delve further into this explosive issue. Caitlin Clark was the most anticipated rookie in WNBA history when she joined the league. Her time at Iowa broke attendance records, gave women's basketball never-before-seen attention, and sparked a phenomenon that went beyond sports. Expectations were not just high, but extremely high when the Indiana Fever selected her first overall. The Fever suddenly sold out venues after being one of the league's underperforming teams. Products were flying off the shelves. The number of television viewers doubled and tripled. Clark played more than simply basketball. She became the spokesperson for a movement and the driving force behind the rapid rise of women's basketball in popular culture. However, no one anticipated the speed at which she would convert that cultural power into real organizational leverage. Superstars have influenced roster choices in the past, but usually only after years of shown success, several titles, or at least a few all-star appearances. After only one season, Clark is acting in this manner. A season in which the Fever failed to even qualify for the deep playoffs, despite her individual excellence. Championships aren't how you get this. She is the WNBA's most valuable asset, and she is aware of it. This is pure star power, pure market worth, and pure recognition. The situation was brought on by a harsh, icy financial reality that became apparent as soon as the season concluded. For 2026, just 3 players are assured spots on the roster: Mikayla Timpson, Aaliyah Boston, and Clark. Fan favorites like Hull and Cunningham, who were abruptly on the chopping board and prepared to go, are among the other free agents. The management publicly stated that they wanted everyone to return. However, the calculation was already completed behind the scenes. To control the cap, one of the most well-known brands on the market would have to be given up, and the initial sacrifice was harsh. You must comprehend the WNBA's pay structure and how drastically different it is from other major professional sports leagues in order to comprehend why this scenario grew so unstable. The 2025 WNBA wage cap is set at about $1.46 million per team. Yes, a 12-player roster with $1 million with an M. That is less money than many NBA benchwarmers earn on their own. Approximately $241,000 is the highest wage for a superstar player, which may seem reasonable until you consider that it is the absolute maximum for the world's top players. Since most players earn between $60,000 and $100,000 a year, many are forced to play abroad in the off-season in order to earn a livable wage. Every contract decision is heightened by this financial restriction, and keeping even one more role player can make decisions elsewhere on the squad untenable. The front office of the Fever was in a difficult situation in this regard. Caitlin Clark, the league's top player, is paid the highest salary. They have 2023 Rookie of the Year Aaliyah Boston, who is also a rising star and can attract high prices. Their senior all-star guard, Kelsey Mitchell, who has been the franchise's most reliable scorer for years, must leave, and they are now being pressured to keep Sophie Cunningham and Lexie Hull. In this limited market, 2 players who not only surpassed expectations, but also command decent pay. The math just doesn't add up. Something must give. Insiders disclosed the initial chilling strategy. The Fever front office was ready to discreetly allow Lexie Hull, a restricted free agent, to go. Indiana was entitled to match any offer she received because she was a restricted free agent. However, according to the allegations, they had already decided not to match the higher bids she was expected to receive from other teams. This was a strategic, covert cost-cutting move meant to free up money for other priorities. A player who stepped up when the Stars were hurt was betrayed in a heartless manner. And since it would take place in the off-season in silence, the executives thought they could get away with it. And it was precisely this silent choice that set off the real behind-the-scenes confrontation that would alter everything. When you look at Lexie Hull's path, her circumstances become even more terrible. Hull was selected in the second round of the 2022 draft and wasn't anticipated to have a significant impact. She averaged just 3.4 points per game in her debut season and was primarily benched. However, everything changed in 2024. Hull made a huge contribution to the Fever roster when injuries occurred. With a three-point shooting percentage of more than 40%, she emerged as one of the league's most effective shooters. She became a dependable defender, gave Clark the critical spacing he needed to function, and exhibited the work ethic and team-first mentality that coaches aspire to. She went from being an afterthought on the roster to a real contributor on a squad that was all of a sudden relevant. The front office was willing to let her go without a fight as a prize for this exceptional season, considering her a financial asset that could be used however they saw fit. The story of Sophie Cunningham gives this play a deeper level. Cunningham wasn't even on the Fever's roster at first. She was a crucial role player and a fan favorite for years with the Phoenix Mercury before joining in a mid-season trade. The Fever viewed the transaction as a win-now move since it added a veteran with postseason experience to help mentor the team's young core. Cunningham and Clark clicked right away, with Cunningham offering clutch shooting, aggressive defense, and seasoned leadership. Both on and off the court, there was no denying the synergy. Now that he was an unrestricted free agent, Cunningham had to deal with the very real prospect of being a one-season rental who was brought in to help push for the playoffs, and then cut when the money came in. The whispers began abruptly. There were rumors that Clark's camp had intervened and demanded that the roster strategy be reviewed right now. This conversation regarding player development was not civil. It was obviously an intervention. According to sources, Clark was subtly urging management to retain her closest supporters at all costs, thus coercing them. The media maelstrom followed. The discussion of fundamental preferences and private meetings with General Manager Amber Cox. It was an obvious message. You will ruin my entire franchise plan if you decide to trade away my most reliable chemistry partners in order to save money. To fully comprehend the extent of this power move, it is essential to consider the timing of Clark's intervention. This did not occur during the time of year when competition is fierce and emotions are running high. This occurred during the off-season's planned cold business period, when front offices are meant to have total authority over roster building. Before the complete free agency plan could even be implemented, Clark effectively took control of it. She didn't wait to find out what offers Cunningham and Hull got. She didn't wait for the plan to be presented by the front desk. She challenged them to cross her by announcing her stance in advance. This differs from standard player input because of that degree of proactive control. Before the game even starts, this player is dictating terms. For a player so early in their career, this degree of control is unheard of. Everyone is now drawing comparisons between it and the player-run NBA franchise, particularly one that is influenced by LeBron James-like. Stability is Clark's primary objective. For the planned title run, she wants her Trees Leches trio, Clark, Hull, and Cunningham, to remain together. When you have a generational talent like Clark, as Cunningham herself once stated, she ought to have a lot to say about the system. Clark is capable of transforming the WNBA. She is currently using that authority to alter the front office for her own team, and it appears to be working. However, this is not a friendship fairy tale. There is a hidden consequence to this brutal power move. Another important star in the Oyet process is being sacrificed. Since the LeBron James comparison is accurate and illuminating, let's take a closer look. LeBron had a well-known impact on roster choices during his playing days. His tastes have influenced several squads throughout his time with the Lakers, his return to Cleveland, where he assisted in orchestrating the Kevin Love trade, and his Miami Heat years with the Big Three. However, LeBron gained that clout by 4 titles, 10 trips to the finals, and almost 20 years of consistent success. He's shown his ability to assemble successful teams. With only 1 season under her belt, no titles, and no track record of assessing potential at the professional level, Clark is trying to exert a similar kind of impact. Instead of using earned basketball knowledge, she is just relying on her celebrity and market value. The Tres Leches moniker itself indicates a significant aspect of Clark's philosophy. This triple name is more than just adorable. It stands for a very particular philosophy of basketball. Clark performs best in a system that has dependable shooters who can spread the floor, defenders who can cover for her defensive shortcomings, and players who know how to take use of her special passing abilities. Cunningham and Hull were a wonderful fit for that description. Although they are not the league's most gifted players, they fit Clark's system well. In essence, she is saying to management, "I know how I win. Even though I'm essentially still a newbie, you should have faith in my judgment since I know who helps me win." She's asking the group to take an amazing leap of faith. The domino effect is the issue. Resigning All-Star guard Kelsey Mitchell was the front office's declared top goal. But keeping Cunningham and matching any offer for Hull will significantly reduce the Fever's already meager salary cap. The franchise's other key star, who led the club in scoring for years, is now directly threatened by Clark's devotion to her close-knit group. Clark is making you make a decision. The veteran all-star who led the squad for 7 years, or her circle and chemistry. The future of the franchise could be severely impacted financially by this leverage-based Cold War. Since Kelsey Mitchell's predicament reflects the human cost of Clark's power move, it merits careful consideration. Since being selected second overall in the 2018 NFL Draft, Mitchell has been the most reliable offensive weapon for the Fever. She has made an all-star team, averaged more than 17 points per game throughout her career, and stuck with a team that had several rebuilding stages. Prior to Clark's arrival, she was the Fever's spokesperson, the veteran who guided younger players and represented the team with professionalism and class, as well as the player that kept fans attending games during the bleak years.